is I don't think anybody should have to disclose that, but I'll put on a mask for you.
No, I'm only asking if you're, because I'll take my mask off if you are, but if you're not, I'm going to keep it on.
Well, I'm not going to answer the question, so you should leave it on.
Okay.
That's my policy on that
Thanks.
question.
Okay, great.
It's a medical privacy issue, I think.
Yeah.
All right, sir, how are you? If I can have you stand right here.
Sure.
Put 2 feet on this blocks right here.
Okay.
Where do you want me?
So 2 shots, so you're going to stand right here.
Okay.
And, no, you guys are going to follow me. So, I'm sorry, you're going to stand right here.
All right, I'm sorry for making it hard.
That, right there.
Okay.
Over,
Good?
over.
Okay, yes. And just so,
Yes.
your full name again. Just sorry, I'm not a.
Yeah, Yasmin. Suzanne.
Okay, Yasmin, nice to
Yeah.
meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Let's get rid of the.
So you moved to these, where were you before, where did you grow up?
South Carolina.
Where, South Carolina?
Along the coast, a little place between Myrtle Beach and Charleston.
Yeah. A little place between Myrtle Beach and,
Charleston, a place called Georgetown, South Carolina.
oh, cool. I was a reporter in Greenville.
Oh, well, that's a very different part of the state.
Yeah.
You guys will take a step to your left more. Right there.
I'm
Your
forced to
shoulders
fit to
down.
Charleston because I lived in Atlanta, which is
Yeah.
beautiful. Charleston.
Okay, Miss Yasmin.
Huh?
Miss Yasmin, I'm saying it correctly?
Yasmin.
Yasmin, Miss
Yeah.
Yasmin. Okay.
Yeah. You don't have to say miss.
I'll try not to, but
Okay.
it's just the worst habit in the world.
It's a southern thing.
I guess so.
Are
That's
your
where I
parents
grew
still in
up.
the South? Is your family still in the South?
They are. Well, they're spread all over the world right now, but
Okay.
it
All
will
over
always
the
be
world.
home.
Are they? Do they work overseas or?
Yep, a lot of different things
Okay.
with the Brainerd clan these days.
Cool. What a crap day. Is it supposed to be nice tomorrow?
I heard it's supposed to be nice tomorrow, but it was also supposed to be somewhat nice today. I don't know if bad weather hurts or helps. I just know for cameras it probably makes things a little bit worse. And we just, I don't know.
Well,
You're not
bright
seeing
sun
that
is
mic
not
in
great
his
for us
pocket, are you?
either. Rain is not great, but
A little bit.
protest bad weather does not help when it comes to like rally and protests, right? I mean, who wants to come out in bad weather?
I do like good weather. All of our previous ones have had pretty good weather. You know.
Yeah. But this is probably the one that's getting the most press, purposefully,
Is that better?
from your,
Yes,
from
I'm
your
good.
vantage point.
It's the only one that has really gotten press. I mean, we've done 2 of these here in the city. No, we did one at the UN.
Yeah.
We sent the press release. We have Cision, so we got all your emails. We sent it out to everybody.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't get it personally, but we did everything we could to make people aware of it. And we didn't actually necessarily anticipate this one getting as much coverage as it has, but slow news week, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Good.
Well,
All right, Yasmin, we're
I
good.
think it's more than that. Which I'm sure you know. We're good?
Yep, we're good.
All right, Matt, just say your name and spell it for me, and then identify yourself as how you want to be identified.
hi, my name is Matt Brainerd, Executive Director of Look Ahead America.
Spell your name for me.
BRAYNARD.
All right, Matt, tell me about the rally for tomorrow. What's happening?
I think what's most important and what there's been the most confusion about is that our organization condemns all political violence. We think anybody that was arrested for violence, hurting a police officer, breaking property on January 6th should be given a speedy trial, if convicted, locked up. We completely agree that those people who were violent on that day belong in prison. Our effort, though, is focused at the many people who did not engage in any violence that day, did not engage in any destruction of property, yet they're being treated very differently than anybody ever has in the history of the Capitol in engaging in what you could consider some kind of civil disobedience or an aggressive exercise of First Amendment rights. We've seen when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez stormed the Speaker's office with environmental protests and let us sit in, they were all released that same day with maybe a $35 or $50 fine. We saw it during the Kavanaugh hearings when the Senate office buildings were stormed and the hearings were repeatedly interrupted. People were released that day, often so they could go back and do the same thing all over again on the same day. We believe that the reason these people are being persecuted, the vast majority of those that were peaceful that day and did not engage in violence and have not been charged with violence, isn't because of what they did, but because of what they believe. And that's wrong, and we're happy to stand up for them.
Let's take a step back, okay? I want to hear first about why you organize this rally for tomorrow.
Well, we have been engaged in this issue all the way back to January, where we first noticed a lot of people who typically would be getting a slap on the wrist were being turned into domestic terrorists. And we thought that this was wrong. So we've been leading this effort. We've had rallies here in DC at the Department of Justice. We had a rally at the prison. We've had 9 rallies at state capitals across the country. So this is just sort of building up, trying to raise the issue, and we've already seen we've had success. Already members of Congress are starting to take action on this. already the public is taking notice. We have a Rasmussen poll that shows about half the country agrees with us now that there are political prisoners being held, including 45% of Democrats. And I've seen internal poll numbers that show much the same thing. So this is just our continuing effort to make the people on Capitol Hill recognize that this is a real problem. Again, we condemn
So what is a real
we
problem?
condemn those who engaged in violence, but individuals who were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time are being unjustly
So who was
persecuted.
in the wrong place at the wrong time?
The vast majority of the hundreds of people who've been arrested who have not been charged with
Who?
violence. Well, I have a sheet right here.
Yeah, go ahead.
These are the
I'd
folks
love
who
to
are
see
being
it.
held
Yeah.
specifically in solitary confinement at the prison who did not engage and not being charged with any kind of violence, specifically Thomas Hale Kasani, Benjamin Martin, Kerry John Walden. We have other folks who are being hit with conspiracy charges. I can go name by name, but we actually at our website have the most comprehensive database of all the arrestees. It's at lookatamerica.org/J6, and we list everything they've been charged with, what their current, where they're being held, who their attorneys are, if anybody wants to reach out.
So these are people that have unlawfully stormed the Capitol. That threaten
Well,
the
in many,
lives.
well, storming is the characterization. That's your characterization. It's not mine. In many cases, they walk through a door held open by a Capitol Police officer.
So let's take a step back. Were you there on January 6th? Were you outside the Capitol?
I was not there present. I'm sure you were, and I know that the visuals were horrible. I know that there were a lot of evil done that day to police officers. We condemn that, explicitly condemn that, and the people who are responsible for that belong in prison.
So who do you think walked through those Capitol doors?
Well, I've read you some names, and we have a large database of people. We have footage of folks walking and standing peacefully between rope lines, waiting for their turn to go in. We're going to start doing a podcast. We're going to interview these political prisoners where they tell their story of exactly what they did that day.
I was there, and people were storming the Capitol. They were hanging from the rafters.
I don't disagree that there were people, but
breaking windows.
here's the question for you, okay? Do you think
They
that
entered the chamber calling for the life of the Vice President and the Speaker of the House.
I believe that anybody that engaged in violence that day belongs in prison. But do you believe that somebody who did not call for anyone's death, who was there that day, who got caught up in a protest, walked through an open door to the building, took a selfie or something, walked out, that they deserve 9 months in solitary confinement without being convicted pre-trial? Do you believe that's just?
People that are, well, it's not, I mean, I'm not the one being interviewed here. You are.
Right, but you're the one with
People
moral.
that are
Hold on,
being-
hold on.
No,
You're
no,
making
people that are
accusations.
being-
You're making. Okay.
I'm not making any accusations. I'm just telling you what I saw there. I mean, I stood
Right.
outside the Capitol. I was one of the only correspondents left standing at the end of the day.
I understand.
I saw what was happening inside the Capitol building.
Do you believe that everybody that walked into that building deserves 9 months in
I'm
solitary
not the one
confinement?
being interviewed, Matt.
I understand that, but I'm answering your question with a
You
question.
agreed to come and listen, as a journalist, I'm here to interview you. I'm not here to give you my opinion as to what happened. that
understand.
day. I'm just telling you what I saw with my very own eyes.
What is
And
your
the
question
lives-
for me?
The question for me is,
No, for me.
the question for you is, why is it you feel as if those people that stormed the Capitol should not be prosecuted, should not be held accountable?
I don't think that they should be prosecuted in the manner that they have been, because we've seen this happen over and over again in the past, where it was stormed by people who did the exact same behavior and were let off same day with a $35, $50 fine. That is disparate. And if you ask me a question, I will answer.
You're comparing this
Let me.
to
You keep interrupting me.
AOC's sit-in?
From
You're
the same-
comparing the
look,
Capitol
I'm-
violence to AOC's
You're trying to
sit-in?
paint everybody there with the same nasty visuals of people doing horrible things to police officers that we've all seen. But not everybody that was there that day engaged in that. And we have evidence of that. We have video footage of that, and so do you. It's simple. Do you think that somebody who did not engage in any violence, most of the people who have been arrested have not been charged with violence or assault or destruction of property. They're charged with parading, trespassing. We have one person in solitary confinement charged with threat of conducting interstate commerce. That's what he's being held in solitary confinement for. It's unjust. And I know that a lot of people watching this, they hate Donald Trump. And I get that. I'm not arguing with them. But just because they hate Donald Trump doesn't mean they have to hate what we're fighting for, because it's blinding them to a grave injustice being committed by their government against these patriots.
I mean, factually, they're not hundreds of people being held unjustifiably.
No, but
Factually,
no, I didn't say
the
that.
people that are being held.
I didn't say that.
Factually, the people that are being held are deemed flight risks. The people that are being held
Yet-
threaten the lives of police officers.
Yet
and
so many
use Capitol grounds
people, not all of
unjustifiably.
them. I have the list of charges. I have a database. I'll share you this list. I'll be happy to send it to you. That shows many of the people still being held are not accused of violence or threats or anything like that. And many of the people that were charged with threatening police and assaulting police have already been released on home arrest. So why are these other individuals who are not charged with anything nearly so bad still being held as political prisoners?
Do you think that people that breach Capitol grounds did the right thing?
No, it was stupid. I think it
All
was
of
naive
them,
on their
every
part.
single one of them.
Everybody that entered the Capitol illegal, it was stupid. It gave a tremendous gift to the political left in this country. The thing is, they want to see people like me, they want to see us resort to violence. Because when you resort to violence, they can send the FBI after you and arrest you. When we have what we're going to have on Saturday, which is a peaceful protest, a peaceful First Amendment exercise of our rights, that's what they see as a threat. And that's why you see these fences going up.
So do you feel as if at all this protest that you're having tomorrow will in some way, shape, or form be seen as supporting those people that breach Capitol grounds? Especially since you're standing here in front of me saying that was not the right thing to do.
It was not the right thing to do, but the way they're being treated should be the same way everyone else is treated that did the exact same thing, which I'm sure you witnessed during the Kavanaugh hearings, during AOC's raid of the Speaker's office, and at the White House just 2 months ago. It was blockaded illegally by an environmental group. You didn't report on that. You didn't call that an insurrection. Those people were arrested and released that same day on bail with no serious consequences. All I'm saying is I want the same treatment for the people engaged in that kind of behavior at the Capitol. Otherwise, this is completely immoral and unconstitutional. And we also believe that in no police department is it acceptable for that police department to clear itself after shooting an unarmed citizen. Imagine in Minneapolis if Derek Chauvin had been cleared by his police department and they said, hey, we looked at it, it's done.
It's happened a lot before.
And it's wrong, and it is completely wrong.
Before.
And your audience agrees with us. The more they understand what's happening, the more they realize they're on our side. It's unacceptable that Ashley Babbitt did not get a full public investigation into exactly whether it was justifiable or not that trigger gets pulled.
Do you think Ashley Babbitt, that the officer that killed Ashley Babbitt, did not feel as if his life was being threatened, as he was being
I think there needs
squeezed
to be a
between
public
two doors?
I don't know his state of mind. I think that there needs to be.
Do you remember the video?
I
of
think
the
there
shooting of
needs to
Ashley
be.
Babbitt?
I think there needs to be a public investigation, and I know you and your audience agree with me that it is immoral and wrong for a police department to clear itself when an unarmed citizen is
That's
shot.
not the question.
That's
Did
my
you see
question.
the
That's what we're
video-
protesting
Did you
for.
see the video of when Ashley Babbitt was shot?
I saw it. Yes,
And did you see the officer that shot her?
we saw his
Do you
hand.
remember how he was being squeezed? Do you remember
All of the questions you're
remember the
asking,
threat
you may
against him?
be completely right in the point you're trying to make, but it deserves a public hearing, a public investigation, which has not happened and should happen every time a cop shoots an unarmed citizen, regardless of the
Do
circumstances.
you feel like the CPD officers should have been under threat the way in which they were on January 6th?
I don't
Was
think
that
any.
justified?
I'll repeat it again because you've asked the question. I don't know why you're asking again. We oppose and condemn all violent action that happened on January 6th at the Capitol.
So what do you want people to take away from tomorrow?
What I want them to take away is that our government is holding political prisoners. That these people are being treated differently, not because of what they did, but because of what they believe. And that is wrong, and we need to stand up for them, and we need the people on Capitol Hill to do the same and demand the Department of Justice treat them equitably as the same way everyone else who stormed the Capitol in the past during Kavanaugh's hearings, at the Speaker's office, stormed occupied the outside the White House illegally just a few months did. This is completely disparate, and there are people who are being held in solitary confinement now, denied bail, not convicted, denied bail, who have no violent background, who didn't do any violence on the Capitol. And it's just wrong. It doesn't matter what your politics are, and just put aside your hatred of Donald Trump for a minute to recognize that.
Why are you having this rally outside the Capitol, a place that is so politically charged, understanding what took place on January 6th?
Well, those are the kinds of accusations that sort of suggest that we don't have a First Amendment.
I'm not accusing you of that.
Hey, I'm answering your question. You can ask any question you want. I can answer it any way I want. I'm answering it how I want. The suggestion that somehow the First Amendment doesn't apply to people like me and people like us who are trying to stand up for what I believe is the greatest civil rights cause of our moment is ludicrous. We are entitled to our First Amendment right. We are going to have a completely peaceful protest, just like every one of our other protests has been peaceful. We believe we're entitled to that. And I will make a point is that when we had our rally at the Department of Justice, you didn't interview me. When we did it at the prison, you didn't interview me. When we were at the United Nations, you didn't interview me. We go here, I'm getting coverage. The story is getting coverage. More people are becoming aware of the political prisoner situation in our country. So already this rally is a success.
How many people are you expecting to show up?
Well, if weather like this, it may just be me with a megaphone. But I think the official estimate is 700. So, but it's not really a numbers game, it's a message game. And the truth is that there's going to be so much media tomorrow. We could have 10,000 people, but far more people will see it on the various networks that are covering it.
Have you reached out to the former president's camp about this rally?
Look, my
Are you
rule,
looking to gain support
I
from them?
respect your question of my rule that I always use is that I do not share our internal discussions with anybody. You could ask me if I had a conversation with the Biden administration. I would give you the same answer. I don't discuss our internal
You
communications
used to
until
work
right
for the
now.
Trump campaign in 2015.
Yes, it's a well-established fact that I worked for the campaign in 2015 and 16.
Did you vote for the president in 2016 and 2020?
I did, but tomorrow's event, I need to make clear, it's not about who is president. It's not about whether you think the election was legitimate or not. It's not about any third-party organizations. It's solely focused on justice for J6. So please, if you want to come, don't bring your MAGA gear, don't bring your pro-Biden stuff, don't bring your third-party organization stuff. Just bring flags and homemade signs demanding justice for Ashley Babbitt and demanding justice for these non-violent political prisoners.
And if there is violence at this rally, if people partake in violence or show up in any kind of political paraphernalia, what
We've
do they
asked,
expect?
well, look, if you show up and you're intent on committing violence, everybody in our crowd has one of these, and you're not going to get away with it. We're going to roll tape on anybody that we see as suspicious or threatening violence or anything like that. Anybody that's not complying with our request to have politically neutral or non-political clothing, we're going to assume they're an infiltrator there to cause trouble. We also have been cooperating with the Capitol Police. Every day we're exchanging emails on logistics. We're going to do everything we can to keep people safe. We have a diplomatic security team, the same people your network calls when you guys want security for you in the field. We have those same people working for us tomorrow. We're going to do everything to keep people safe. But I will say that the threat of this boogeyman of violence has been used to attempt to shut down civil rights movements in the past, to shut down people's First Amendment rights in the past, to discourage you from being able to protest peacefully. And we're not going to be deterred.
Well, I think you can understand why folks would be threatened by a rally happening in front of the Capitol grounds about the insurrectionists, about the protesters,
They're being
about
threatened.
the people that stormed the Capitol and support us.
They're feeling threatened, and I'm getting daily death threats because the media is misreporting that we're out there in support of all the insurrectionists, and they show a story about me and they show police officers being beat up, trying to portray them or trying to portray us as being supportive of them. We are absolutely not supportive of them. We are completely supportive of the people who are being over-prosecuted, who did not engage in violence. We condemn the violence. If you were violent that day, I hope you go to prison. And so does everybody at Look Ahead America and everybody coming to our rally. The reason they feel threatened is because they have had disinformation from many network reporters, network cable news, press, Washington Post, etc., misattributing what we're there and representing.
All right, man. I think we're good.
Can I just
Yeah.
ask one follow-up? And you feel free to rephrase the question, and you can look at her.
Sorry.
But no.
I'll give you credit for his question.
But you have gone after the media a little bit, and I wonder, it feels like to me that you're doing the same thing that a lot of Trump Republicans have done with downplaying the events of January 6th. I mean, there was a constitutional duty to certify election results on that day. And we watched. I was on one side of the Capitol, Yasmin was on the other. We watched people by the hundreds literally storm into the Capitol, and it feels like you're making it sound like they were tourists on that day, and people knew they were.
I think there's a big difference between the people who are assaulting police officers with flagpoles, baseball bats, and the innocent grandmother or the person who showed up there late after the doors were long open, didn't witness any violence, went in, walked around a bit, walked out, and then had their lives destroyed by the Department of Justice. They've lost their jobs. They've gone bankrupt. They've had to hire very expensive attorneys if they could find attorneys at all. I'm saying is we can all agree that there's a big difference between the people engaged in serious violence that day and some person who innocently, naively, and I say stupidly, but politically naively, walked in the building, walked out. Those are the people that we think are being mistreated, not treated the same way they have in the past for exactly the same behavior, explicitly because of their political beliefs. That is the only explanation for the discrepancy in their treatment.
So AOC doing a sit-in is the same thing
As an innocent person walking into a building, not knowing they're not allowed to walk into the building because that building is a public building almost any other day of the week. And unless you can...
But these people knew what was happening. I mean, no one innocently walked into the building at that point. These people
How do you
were
know
there
that the building was open? They walked in. Well, let me ask you a question. There were 6 Capitol Police officers who were sanctioned for that behavior, their behavior that day. Do you know what they were sanctioned for?
I'm not.
I don't either, and the reason we don't know is because they haven't released that. This is a problem of transparency. They're sitting on 14,000 hours of video. Hold on, I'm trying to answer your question. They're sitting on 14,000 hours of videotape that would tell the full story, more than your eyes could see and his eyes could see together. And I'm telling you, there are people who innocently, naively walked into that building, walked out, did not know it was illegal to do so, And now they're having their lives destroyed. And you can interview them, and we will find them for you, and we will present them to you to interview. That they did nothing violent. They got there late because this thing was ongoing for a while, and they walked out. And yet, we have the White House under assault over the summer. Dozens of Secret Service agents injured. Their guard station destroyed. No call of insurrection, nothing like that. But here this happens, and the media wants to pounce on it as creating a narrative.
People didn't innocently and naively walk into the Capitol building on January 6th. They knew exactly what they were doing in walking in. They had been
They
there
walked
all
in
day.
peacefully.
They had been protesting. They had been
Not
walking up
everybody was there all day.
Constitution
Not
Avenue,
everybody witnessed
walking
that.
up Pennsylvania
Look, are
Avenue,
you-
watching the people breach the grounds of the Capitol. When they walked in seeing the doors had been broken
Look,
open. They saw windows smashed
The Capitol
to
protesters
pieces.
during Kavanaugh hearings.
Someone
Well,
lost
hold
their
on.
life.
The Kavanaugh hearing protesters knew they shouldn't walk into that building. They knew they shouldn't interrupt the hearings because many of them were sanctioned for that and fined and arrested and went back and did it again and again, interfering with government business. I think that's wrong and stupid. I think the people that did the things they did was wrong and stupid. My issue is that they did the exact same thing and they were being treated differently. And that's it. And I believe that when a police department kills an unarmed person, maybe it's justifiable, maybe it's not, but they cannot clear themselves of it. And that the level of transparency out of that agency under Nancy Pelosi's rule, it's embarrassing. You should know what those 6 officers were sanctioned for. You should know who they were. Maybe they were treated unfairly. Maybe they shouldn't have been sanctioned at all. This lack of transparency and this disparate treatment is everything that we're protesting about. And the more people learn about it, the more they agree with us. Despite their hatred for Trump, they just have to see beyond that and see that this is a bigger problem.
All right, I think we're good. Yeah, thank you, Matt.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. You guys have a great day.
Yeah, you
Wait,
too.
wait.
You cannot
Oh,
have
I
a
got it.
microphone.
All right.
Sure.
All right. What time?
You're doing a media scrum down there afterwards tomorrow, you said?